Good evening. Welcome. What we have here is a small group of welfare officers. All of you have engaged nicely, and it's very nice to see you here this evening. We've got a huge number of welfare officers across Berks and Bucks, and as I've said to most of you, I think we've got about 290, something like that, across the two counties, and about 150 of those are people that I liaise with regularly, or send in emails regularly, or respond to questions and the like. And attend meetings. But that means there are 130, I think, odd, 120 something welfare officers across the county who have no engagement at all with the FA. I'm sure they're doing a fantastic job, but I really want to build up this team, because being a welfare officer, as I've said to some of you before, can be a very lonely job. My job at the FA is to make your job as painless as possible. So, I need you to ring me, email me, bother me when you've got issues, because you're volunteers. You shouldn't be having sleepless nights about things that are going on. So pass that on to me, and I will support as much as I possibly can. But you've also got this huge team of welfare officers, as I say, and we need to start tapping into that. So it's great to see you all, and we'll just have a run through. Please unmute and shout at any point during the evening. So what we're going to actually look at, we're going to look at the relationship with players. What does that look like for a welfare officer? The role within the club, which is varied across the two counties, but what the role should look like. DBS will have a look at how they work, because it's a new system, as some of you know, and there are teething issues, but we'll work through that. And then the relationship that you can have with me and the county FA generally. Then we'll have a look at the whole game system, but we'll have a look around DBS within that as well. And then obviously a chat and question and answers. But as I say, please feel free to ask questions as we go along. I'm going to demonstrate the whole game system later, and I've spent 2 hours since I finished work trying to make sure that I can share my screen when I'm doing that. I should be very disappointed if you all say, sorry, we can't see that, but I'm hopeful that it's going to work. So the role, in a nutshell. The club welfare officer is responsible for ensuring that the club operates a safe and enjoyable playing environment, that all coaches and helpers have undergone the required background checks. So Dbs checks are your responsibility, or to make sure that the coaches and helpers have had the appropriate checks and done the appropriate training if that's required. But the main thing there is that the club operates a safe and enjoyable playing environment. And I know that sounds very simple, but those of you who have been doing the job for a little while will know that that isn't always the case. And sometimes adults can make the situation a little bit less safe and less enjoyable, and so can the children themselves. But safeguarding in football boils down to those two words, fun and safe. If the children are safe and they're having fun, safeguarding is ticked. And that's our job as the safeguarding and welfare officers, to try and help create that environment. So simple words, less simple in practice, but simple words. So you and I, we are the primary point of contact for anyone who has concerns regarding the safeguarding of children or adults at risk, if you run disability teams or any teams that have adults at risk involved. This point of contact can be almost anything. I mean, this really can be almost anything. It can be anything from the very basic playing time complaint, which comes up a lot. My son or daughter isn't getting enough game time, through to a serious safeguarding concern. I've seen something or heard something, and I need to report it, and that comes to you. So that's the point where I say, let me give you an example. Today, I received a complaint. It wasn't today, actually. Yesterday, I received a complaint from a club that during a game, I think it was under 10s, might have been under 11s, but quite a young age, one of the opposition players had told one of this team's players to F off. That was the complaint. Now, of course, we don't want 10-year-olds telling other 10-year-olds to F off. But I would say to you as welfare officers, I think that could probably be dealt with a phone call from welfare officer to welfare officer. The number 2 in your under 10s team told one of our players to F off. Could you have a word? And it could be dealt with in club. So I think you can deal with that. That's the type of thing I'm not going to lose sleep over. But I'm very worried about so-and-so in the under 9s. They're losing weight and they're scruffy and they look very miserable. They used to be happy, but they're very downbeat. And I heard them say to someone else the other day that they were scared to go home, and I'm really worried about them. Clearly, that type of thing is going to hit you. And that's where I say to you, don't take that on your shoulders. Don't suddenly think, right, I have got this to deal with. Come straight to me, and together we will make the appropriate referrals, and we will tell the appropriate people. I had a case very recently where there was concern, not too dissimilar to the one I've just described, and I spoke to the local authority designated officer. I then spoke to the multi-agency safeguarding hub, and between everyone, we decided that we would keep a record of it, but they wouldn't actually take any immediate action. Now, no matter what you or I think about that decision is taken by the professional experts. Our job, if we have concerns, is to pass it to the professional experts, and we then abide by what they decide. So even though sometimes you might think, well, I'm not sure I'm happy with that, we've done our job and we've passed it on. If further things come to note, then we'll pass it on again. So don't take all that pressure on your shoulders. If it's a real concern, a safeguarding concern, tell me and we'll deal with it. Don't take that on yourself. The basic ones, please deal with them, and you'll know the type of things I'm talking about. And we'll look at those in a minute. So there's some interesting things come up here about relationship with players. You are obviously, as the club welfare officer, in a position of trust, and the young people should have confidence in being able to talk to you. This is all okay. Following on here, be visible and make yourself known. Absolutely, that's right. But if you're a club welfare officer where you've got 60 teams, that's not so straightforward. But you need to, as much as you can, make yourself visible, make yourself known. Make sure you're all over the club website and the welcome pack for new parents, at the start of the season. Make sure everyone knows who you are and how they can get hold of you. And just make sure that the players know if they've got any concerns, they can come to you. That's really it. And players rarely come to us because players rarely have a concern. But when they do, they need to know where to go. Those of you that have been in previous monthly meetings, you'll know we've talked about the voice of the child. Excuse me, and you are in a really strong position to be the person who listens to the voice of the child, because coaches are very focused on coaching, and as much as we try and tell coaches, and I'm a coach as well, try and tell me, as much as we try to get coaches to listen to the children and adapt to give the children what they want. We are very guilty of thinking we know what children want, and therefore giving them what we think they want. We are a little bit scared as coaches to say to the children, are you happy with my coaching? Are you happy with the sessions that I'm running? And get that feedback from the children. So you're in a really good position as a welfare officer to just try and get some of that information and try to build the voice of the child in the club and actually hear what the children want rather than what adults think the children want. But as I say, if you've got 50 or 60 teams in your club, not as simple as it sounds. So the two things you can do, and I would suggest one of them you must do, you need to be setting an example clearly as the club welfare officer. You are a role model. It goes with the role. You need to do that. The last one there is a particular problem for welfare officers: checking and challenging. Parents are lovely. I'm a parent and I'm lovely. I'm sure those of you that are parents are lovely. But parents at football can sometimes be a little bit less than lovely. And they can get overexcited. Now, I always believe that the only thing parents ever want is the best for their child. And we must always try and remember that. But they can go over the top and things can be said, behaviour can happen that is not appropriate. We've had a few cases this season of parents actually verbally and physically abusing children from the other team. Really, really serious stuff. So parents can step out of line. Normally, it's just too much shouting, too much coaching, what have you. And often it will fall to the club welfare officer to go and have the chat. And it's not an easy conversation to have. So the codes of conduct are really important. So if you can get the codes of conduct signed by the parents at the start of the season, then it's much easier to approach the parent and say, this is what you agreed to. You said you would not coach from the sidelines. You would only shout encouragement. You wouldn't criticise. This is what's happened. Not acceptable. You need to abide by the codes and start that process. And 9 times out of 10, the parent will apologise and try to improve. That is the case because no parents generally want to be an embarrassment or cause a welfare concern. But it's probably the most tricky bit of the role, is having to approach a parent and say, we're not happy with how you're behaving and we need you to change. But use what you've got. Use those codes of conduct. Use the coach of the team to maybe have the conversation with you. Generally, although it's a difficult conversation, all of the other parents want that particular parent to be quiet or stop doing what they're doing. So although you feel as though you're taking a big step, actually everyone else is supporting you and will back you up. So, we need to have difficult conversation, but hopefully not too often. The code of conduct hopefully will prevent that happening too much. So within the club, there are some things that you must do and that you could do. So part of your role is around setting this long-term strategy or structure around safeguarding. Now, this generally involves having safeguarding children policies, which should already be in place at your club, but you might want to look at them. Anti-bullying policies, equality policies, all the things that would make the club behave in a manner whereby the children will be safe and have fun. All the different ways that the children might not be safe, we really want to be putting things in place to make sure that they are. So the codes of conduct and the policies are really important. But as I said at the meeting last week, having a policy is ticking a box to say, yes, we've got a policy. And that's great. That's way better than not having a policy. But actually, what needs to happen is that all of the coaches, the players, the parents need to know what that is. So as the welfare officer, you have an opportunity to influence your club's committee to have safeguarding at front and centre of what goes out to the parents. So I'm assuming all of you at the start of next season in August, September time, there will be welcome packs. You will have meetings with everybody to say welcome to the new season. You'll give them the signing on forms and everything that you need, that the club need to do admin wise. So let's make safeguarding front and centre. Let's get the policies out there. Let's tell parents this is what we expect at this club. This is our ethos. This is what we believe in. Here's the codes of conduct. We need you to sign them and agree that that's what's going to happen. Things like equal playing time can be addressed straight away. We are a club that believe in developing the players. This means all of the players will get opportunities to play, no matter of the standard of the player. We are developing children, we're developing people, we're developing footballers second, people first. So if someone is stood there going, I know my daughter is going to be the best player in the world, so I want her to play every minute of every game, they are very clear right from the start of the season that that isn't what's going to happen, because that's not how this club operates. So if they do have a complaint later in the season, they haven't got a leg to stand on, because it was made clear to them right from the beginning. So setting out your stall, I'm the club welfare officer, this is what I believe, this is what our club believes, this is what you can expect from me and us, and this is what we expect from you. If you get that out there right at the start, you're really creating that safeguarding feeling around the club. So all of the parents immediately know, right, this club wants our children to be safe. And that's a great place to start. It says here you should be on the club management committee. That's wrong. You must be on the club management committee. You must be part of that committee. You must be there, and you must be an absolute pain to the secretary and the chair and the treasurer about safeguarding, and you need to be on them. We need to be pushing safeguarding. So you must be part of that committee. There are 4 committee members that get listed on the whole game service for all clubs with youth teams. That's the chairperson, the secretary, the treasurer, and the club welfare officer. So those are the 4 vital roles in the club. And I would put that the other way around, because I think you're the most important. But I would say that, wouldn't I? But you need to be on that committee, and you need to be constantly reminding people of their responsibility. So setting that example, but checking and challenging the other committee members. Because I don't know what the committees are like at your clubs. They may all be very forward-thinking, modern, diversity aware, in favour of equality. They may be everything we would want them to be. But I suspect there will be some people on some committees for whom equality, diversity, safeguarding and welfare is quite low down the list. So you need to be the one there going, excuse me, can we not use that language? Can we not talk about that in that way? Can we please think about our equality policy? We've got equality policy as a club, so it's not really right that committee members should be talking in that way. Just, and again, I'm not talking about you doing this all day, every day. This is quite a rare occurrence, but being that constant reminder about safeguarding. So yeah, be a pain. The last thing there, some of you I know have already dealt with in your role, is supporting complaints. Because when a complaint comes in, the complaint is very often a discipline type complaint. But in a youth team, it's very, very difficult to separate discipline from safeguarding. If a coach has sworn during a game and a parent complains that the coach used foul and abusive language during the game and the under 11s football match, then clearly that could be a disciplinary issue, or a misconduct charge might be held against the coach. But also, you've got all of the players on the pitch, young children who have heard a role model using the type of language that we really don't want the children to hear. So it is disciplinary, but it's also welfare and safeguarding. So almost every complaint will have a welfare/safeguarding element to it. So you will be involved in dealing with that complaint. So yeah, support the club in dealing with the complaint fairly, transparently, openly. The one thing that you are already aware of, because you're all very sensible people, is that you will never ever investigate a complaint to the satisfaction of everybody involved, because every complaint will have a counter complaint. And everyone will be 100% sure that the other person involved is the person responsible. And you have to try and find a way of keeping everyone happy, and it's not going to happen. So they can be difficult to deal with, purely because someone says they swore at me, and the other person says, well, actually, I only did that because they swore at me first. How you keep everyone happy by investigating that. If you have got a way, let me know, because I really need to know how to do that. But on the whole, the complaints are going to be minor, thankfully, because major things don't happen very often. That's great. We all need that to continue. So most of the time there are no complaints. The ones that do come in will tend to be fairly minor that you can just deal with. You can deal with by having a quick word with someone, reiterating the codes of conduct, that type of thing, without having to really get too many, get other agencies involved or anything. But there will be complaints to deal with. Then we have our Dbs verifications that you will be dealing with probably in your club. Sometimes secretaries and other people in the club will take that on, but it's your responsibility as the welfare officer to make sure that all of the people who need a Dbs check have got one and it's in date. And so you normally end up being responsible for organising them. So everyone working with an under 18 team, coach, manager, medical person, must have a Dbs check. You're responsible for ensuring that they have. Non-compliance would see coaches suspended, and they must be removed from their role and either replaced with someone who has got an in-date Dbs, or potentially the team could be suspended because they haven't got an appropriate Dbs checked person running the team. Normally you would be able to find someone who could run it, but the team could be suspended, and rightly so. A Dbs check is a very basic requirement to check that someone is not banned from working with children. It's simple as that. That's all we're doing. We are making sure that this person is not banned. So yes, it's about finding out criminal records and all the rest of it, but actually what the law says is you must not have someone in a role working with children who is banned from working with children. And the only way you can find that out is by doing a Dbs check. So you do the check, and if the check is clear, That's great news. Doesn't mean that person is completely safe. It just means they've never been caught for doing anything that means they shouldn't be working with children. So it's a good step, but it is just one step on a ladder. But it's not long ago that we didn't even have that. So DBS checks are a big part of the role of the welfare officer. They are a bit of a pain, and dealing with them can be a real pain, but they're essential. And we need to be doing them all the time. And I will spend some time, hopefully, showing you around DBS checks in a minute. So the relationship you have with us, we will talk to each other all the time, I hope, not in a dealing with complaints way, but in a general working as a team. Most of you know that we have a monthly meeting all through the season where we can share updates, we can share cases with each other anonymously, obviously. And we usually have a subject that we're going to look at in a sort of CPD way, where we can just have a look at various issues and how we deal with them and what it means to us. It's a chance for us to get together, a chance to just sit back and actually have some information coming into us rather than just responding to issues all the time. So it's great that when we see people come into that, we normally get between 20 and 50 people turn up to that monthly meeting. I'd love that to be 100, but it's very difficult for volunteers to find the time. Often welfare officers are coaches as well, and they're coaching in the evening. So there's any number of reasons why people can't come, and I understand that. But we really want this regular dialogue. So emailing, phoning, coming to the meetings is great. As I said before, the safeguarding breaches. So anytime you think, actually, this is a safeguarding issue, and you're sensible people, you know that line that's, this person shouldn't have done that, and wow, that's something that definitely shouldn't have happened. So anything that makes you go, oh dear, is potentially a safeguarding breach. When you've got that, report it straight away. Like I said, don't keep that on your shoulders. If you think, there's a child potentially at risk here, or children potentially at risk, then report it straight away. That's your job. Okay, then we can all help picking up the pieces afterwards. But your actual job is get that reported. So that's the main thing, really. When it happens, get on the phone straight away or email or whatever. So the CPD sessions I've just talked about, keep talking all the time. Talk about issues that you've dealt with, because with 290 odd welfare officers around the county, the one thing I can almost guarantee is that none of you will deal with something that nobody else has dealt with before, or at least a similar type incident. So there is help out there. It's just getting that help. So when we have the meeting, share it. And someone might just come on and say, oh, actually, I had that a couple of weeks ago and I did this and that worked really well. Brilliant. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. If someone's already dealt with something and it worked, then let's share that. Let's steal other people's ideas, because none of us have got the monopoly on ideas. If someone's dealt with it and dealt with it well, let's find out about it. And the youth voice that I talked about, you being able to get that voice of the child in the club, get that to us as well, because we tend to be sitting in our ivory tower sending out, do this, do that, and you've got to do this. Well, actually, we need to listen to the voice of the child as well. We have a youth council, the BBFA, and we listen to them regularly. But we need to get that feedback from the clubs, because I'm acutely aware that we send an awful lot of stuff out to volunteers. You've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to attend this meeting and that meeting and get this qualification. And I'm very, very aware that you're volunteering. I up until last season, was a volunteer at club and have been for many years, and I'm very aware of the um, burden that is placed on volunteers. So we need that feedback to come back to us. So if you're being asked the impossible, tell us you're being asked the impossible. Come back to me and tell me what the issues are, but particularly around what the children are saying. Because everything I send out, everything I do, is meant to be for the benefit of the children playing football. It's meant to be keeping them safe and happy, or supporting that process. So if the children aren't happy about things that are coming out, then, if you get that information, feed that back to us. So it's very much, I hope, as we move forward, a two-way relationship. It's not me telling you what's going on, and it's two-way. You can be telling me what's going on as well, because you're out there doing it, and I'm sat at home at the moment, but in an office or whatever. Although I will come out to see as many of you as possible through the season. So you will support with compliance, complaints and investigations. So some complaints will come through to us and you'll get an email from me or a phone call from me or from Chris Penny, who's the discipline officer at Bucks FA, saying, this has happened, can you get an initial response for us? So it might be, we've had a complaint from Bucks and Bucks Football Club. They say that your under-9s coach was constantly shouting and swearing at the referee during the game on Saturday. We're going to look at this as a disciplinary matter. Can you get a first account from your under-9s coach? And we would then ask you to obviously speak to the under-9s coach and get their version of what happened. I can guarantee it will be, but it wasn't us, it was the other team that was shouting and swearing at the referee. But whatever their initial account is, get that from them. In terms of compliance, if the FA DBS team contact me and say, Fred Smith, the coach at Bucks and Bucks Football Club, is now suspended because they failed to comply with a request around DBS, I will come to you straight away to give you that information, and you. Oh, sorry, just disappeared there for a minute. Is someone unmute and tell me if they can still hear me?
I still hear you.
Excellent, yeah. Thank you. My screen went very funny there, so I didn't know what happened. I will come to you and say this person has been suspended. You need to take action straight away and come back and let me know that that's all been dealt with. So yes, there is a role around compliance and investigations that will be undertaken. But again, with support, it's not for you to take all the pressure of that on your shoulders. That's a very natural picture, isn't it? You can just see those three chaps there just chatting away and having a laugh. Right, so what do we have? Online resources. So there's a bit of stuff on the Bucks and Bucks FA website, on the safeguarding pages. There is information on there. The website is very slow to be updated. I'm trying to put this right. There's out of date stuff on our website, and we're getting it changed. I am sorting it out as quickly as I can. The FA website, if you type in FA safeguarding into Google, it takes you to the FA safeguarding site, obviously, and there is a huge amount of information there. It covers everything you could possibly need to know as a club welfare officer. So use the FA safeguarding site. It's got templates for policies. It's got details about DBS. It's got, I think there's about 12 headings, and all of those headings have got loads of information under them. You're never going to sit and read it all, but have it as a saved link on your laptop, because I can almost guarantee that when you have an issue, if you go on there, there'll be something on there around it. So do use those online resources. Use us, use me and our club support officers. So anything to do with safeguarding and welfare should come to me, really, in the first instance. So use and abuse me. We've got a service level agreement where we must respond within 2 days, and I think have an answer to you within 4 days. I will always try and respond to you on the day that you come to me. That can get difficult in the middle of a season when there's a huge amount of cases around the 2 counties, but I will definitely always come back to you within 2 days. Our club support officers, we've got 2 officers. We've got Stacey Hamer, who covers Buckinghamshire, and Alex Smith, who covers Berkshire and Oxfordshire. Their job is to support a club. So if you've got any issue around anything that's not safeguarding related, DBS counts as safeguarding, unfortunately, that is mine. But anything else, then you've got other people at the Bucks and Bucks FA who you can go to. So you should always get a response if you come to us. And then we have regular sessions. Those sessions are not just the monthly session that I've talked about that we have for the welfare officers. There are constant webinars and information sessions running about all sorts of things that I will always let you know about. So there is always stuff coming out from the FA and from us as a county FA. You will always be updated. So there's plenty of support out there for all of us. Now, DBS checks. Just have a little whiz through this. So we're starting at the top left here. So for DBS checks, some of you will have already done this and be happy with it. Some it will be new to you. So the whole game service. We go into the whole game service, and I'm going to show you this as long as it works, fingers crossed, in a minute. You go into the whole game service, you go to your safeguarding tab, and in there you've got a button, a tab that says, you can't see anything, Jenny. Can anyone else not see the screen?
Oh, I can see it.
Okay. I don't know what's going on.
No,
Jenny.
I've just got black.
Oh, are you on a phone?
No, I'm on my laptop.
Oh. Oh, that's a shame, Jenny. I don't know what to say about that, because let me see if I'm just going to unshare and then share again and see if that helps.
Yeah. He's not put whole game on yet. He's just got his slides.
And there we are. So I've got just got the slides, DBS verification process. Can anyone?
Yeah, I can see that. I think some people probably thought you were sharing a whole game. You haven't got there yet, have you?
Oh, don't tell me I can't do that yet. At least wait until I fail before you tell me. Okay, so DBS verification.
I can see now.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. So we go into the safeguarding tab and we have a DBS Applications tab. We click on that, and if it's the start, if it's the first time, it will ask you for a PIN number. The PIN number is the PIN that the club has from GBG, or First Alliance, is it, or First Assistance, whatever they're called now. So that PIN number should be known. If you don't know that PIN number, we can find that for you. So that goes into the box, and the 2 accounts are then linked, the GBG account and the WGS, the whole game.
Is this just one person per club, Graham?
You can have more than one doing it. The only people who generally can have access through WGS are the welfare officer and club secretary.
Yeah, because I'm helping Richard, but he's got it on his, but I haven't got it on mine.
No, we may be able to get it on yours, Natasha, actually. I'll make a note of that and I'll have a look tomorrow, because you are listed as an assistant welfare officer, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I might be able to get that for you. I'll have a look in the
It'll
morning.
make it easier, otherwise he's the only one that can do it.
Absolutely. I'll have a look at that in the morning, Natasha, if that's okay, and I'll get back to you. So to put someone in the system, you click, there's a box, I'll show you this, it says add official, you click on it and you then put their details in. What you then need to do, which is where the system breaks down quite a lot, is tell the coach that you've done that, because then the coach has to take action themselves. They don't automatically get an email. So you tell the coach that they need to go into the whole game service, and they will go in, take some action that I will show you in a moment, and that will then, they will then list their documents that they're going to use for ID, and that your notification on your whole game service will change from DBS in progress to verification required. So you get an alert that someone has done what they need to do, and you then need to verify their documents. Once you've updated GBG with the verification, everything is then done automatically, and you will get a notification saying application complete, and they should disappear off your system. They don't always. If they don't disappear, tell me and I can get them removed for you. So the system in theory sounds very simple. What I'm going to do now is try to share my whole game system. So let me go on here. Let's hope that loads. It's not a very exciting start. Can you see a blank screen now?
Just your slides.
Okay. That. Okay. Don't worry, I'm just trying to log into the whole game. Working how it worked this afternoon, so I'm hopeful. Right, can anybody see my whole game page?
No.
No,
You're
Oh.
just your slides.
That's really annoying, isn't it? Okay, just bear with me. Let's see if we can share it another way.
Yep, we've got it.
Right.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so this is our whole game page. Now, when most of us go on, we tend to arrive at the My Account page, which looks like this. Okay, and on here is your details, your contact details, and details about you. So the first thing that the coach has to do once you've sent the DBS check to them is just check that their details are right, because you've got the email address, and if their email address is wrong, then the whole system will collapse, because they won't get an email no matter what they do, because obviously it will go to the wrong address. So they just need to go in and check that their details are correct. Then they need to go to the whole game system. So when you look at this page, you've got My Account up in the top left-hand corner, and above that, you've got Whole Game System. And if you click on that, it takes you back to this page. Down the side of this page, one of these tabs is My DBS. And they click on My DBS and they come to this page, and on here will be the fact that your club has asked them to do a DBS check. they need to click on that where it says click here, which is what it will say for them around that. They click here and that will trigger the email to their email address saying, please list the documents you're going to use for verification. So the 2 steps the coach has to do is go to my account and check their email address is right, then go on to WGS, scroll down to my DBS and click on the thing that says you've sent them a DBS check. So that's all the coach has to do, but that's where the system is falling down at the moment, that they're not. So you set, or the club welfare officer sets it in train, but the coach doesn't get the message, so they never actually go in to trigger the email to get the check done. So that's where the system's falling down at the moment. But when you go into your whole game system, one of your tabs across the top here will say, like mine here says, Club Welfare Officer for the Barks and Bucks FA Demo Club. Okay, so you should have Club Welfare Officer and your club. So you go into your tab and you have a dashboard that looks something like this. The top tab here says Safeguarding. If you click on that, it takes you into this tab where all of your people who have safeguarding requirements will be listed. So if someone has a DBS check required, it should show up on here that they need a DBS check. So if you click on Dbs Applications, so someone has already put our PIN in here. So that's where you would have to add your GBG PIN if you haven't already done it. So let's say I need to do, let me just go back a moment because just write down the details here. So 59454678. Okay, so we go into Dbs Applications and I need to do a DBS check. So I add new official. We put the details across the top here. So if I need to do one for Alistair, I don't know his date of birth though, so that might not let me do this. 454678. And search, yeah, it's telling me I can't put a date of birth in. But if I knew Alistair's date of birth, I put it.
You can put it on if you want, Graham.
Ah, you're here. What's
I just joined.
Birth, Alistair? Go on.
Perfect timing. 3rd of February, 85.
February 1985. There we go. And we'll search for Alistair. And there he is. So all I do is click Add as DBS Applicant. And that's the end of my bit at this stage. I then just need to contact the coach and say, I've started your DBS check. And they then go in and do the 2 things that I told you about. So they go in, go to my account, check their email address is correct, back to the whole game system, and click on my DBS and accept your request to start the check. So that's the whole process. So you need to go into Safeguarding, add official, put their details in and click on start the process. They go in and do that bit. So it's really relatively simple, but there have been quite a few teething problems. The system works, it's just people are getting a bit confused, and understandably so, because it's new to everybody. Has anyone here actually been doing checks or started doing checks? If you could unmute and tell us.
I've done it with Richard. He showed me, and then I went home to check and then realised I didn't have access.
All right, keep going on about it, Natasha. I'll sort it out tomorrow.
The other thing is they always bring the wrong paperwork. So they say what paperwork they're going to bring and then don't bring the right one. I think we had 3 people and only one out of the 3 brought the stuff that they said they were going to bring. But
yeah, absolutely, yeah, that's par for the course. In fact, the last time I did some checks, one chap arrived and I said, right, so I just need to see your passport. And he said, oh, I haven't brought it. And I said, oh, what have you brought? He said, what was I meant to bring? He actually arrived with no documents. So yes, people do get confused by the system. But when Richard's doing them at Wokingham there, are they working generally?
yeah, they're working. And then he's doing, the other thing he's doing is making sure that they've done their safeguarding and first aid before he does their DBS, because he's finding that he can do the DBS and then nobody goes back and does their safeguarding first aid. So he's refusing to do their DBS until they've done it, and that seems to be working as well.
Yeah, that's really good. And Rich is very, very strict, isn't he? I really like that. He's got a good system going there. So yeah, that works well.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's good. So when you're, excuse me, sorry, the last thing I'm just going to show you on here before we just open up for a little chat before we finish, when you have new officers at the club and you need to add people as a coach or, excuse me, any other role at the club, in your welfare officer tab, you look down the side and you've got club officials and team officials. So if you've got a new coach taking your under 10s team or whatever, you click on team officials and add official. And again, let's give Alistair a job again. 5, 9, whoops.
Wait, what are you putting me at as this time?
I'm not sure actually. We'll have a look in a moment. What? Sorry, your date of birth again, Alistair?
3rd of February 85.
3rd of February 1985. So we'll search, and there he is. He comes up. So Alistair's down here. So I tick Alistair because that's who I want to be here. I look at the team, and it's the Blues team that he's coaching. So what's his role? He's going to be the coach. He's going to start doing it from today. No, I didn't like that. Why isn't it saying okay for me, Alistair? Let's go with a.
Yeah. Why is that not letting you do that?
No, this is good when you demonstrate and it doesn't work. No.
Oh, there you go. It should work now.
So the date he's going to start is tomorrow, so you obviously can't do it until the next day. The date he's going to start tomorrow, he's going to coach, it's going to be the Blues. I click OK. And he will appear in the long list as Demo Club Blues coach as of tomorrow. So you've added him to your system. And club officials is exactly the same, only that would be someone who's going to be the new club secretary or welfare officer or the like. So while I've got the whole game system up, has anyone got anything that they would like me to try and show you on the whole game system? Any issues you've had? Okay, so is there any questions or anything you want to ask about anything? We've got Alistair here now as well. who's the head of governance at Bucks and Bucks FA. So any questions about anything at all before we start?
I have 2 questions, and both of them are probably really stupid. So
No, they're not. No, they're not. Go on.
Okay, so the first question is, so say you do sign on a new coach, how quickly do you need the DBS done before they can do anything? Or do I need the DBS done before they are allowed to interact with children?
They as long as if you start the DBS, if they're going to be working with someone who has a full DBS check, then they can come along and assist. But they can't be left in a position where they are going to be in sole charge of children until they've got the DBS check in place.
Right. Okay. So there always needs to be somebody there that has a DBS check.
Yeah.
Okay. That's perfect. And the other question I was going to say is I'm really struggling to find a template for the equalities policy. So I can find lots of information about equality. And I've read lots of documents, but I couldn't find a template policy.
I will get that to you, Thea.
Thank you. You are amazing. I don't know what I'd have done without you over this last week. So thank you. All right, then. Those are my questions.
No worries. I will get a template to you tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from anyone? Okay, brilliant. Well, you're a small but very elite group, and you are clearly now my favourites. So, you know, you can't go wrong now. It's okay to have favourites, Alistair, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Brilliant. So, anything you want to add, Alistair? I know you've been in a meeting, haven't you? So you only arrived.
Yeah, my brain is still very much in counter cut rule mode. I guess I just want to pass on my thanks and appreciation to everyone for taking on the role of welfare officer. You play an absolutely vital role in grassroots football and youth football in keeping our players and keeping our children safe and making sure that football remains, as the FA say, for all, but making sure it remains a high quality, safe and enjoyable place for children to play sport and play football. So thank you very much for stepping up to the plate and taking on the role. I hope you're not daunted by what you've probably heard this evening in terms of the scope of the role. Yes, there's a lot of responsibility, but it's a rewarding one. And we have a lot of support systems in place to help you out throughout the process. So if you ever need anything, please just drop us a line. Both myself and Graham, Liz, our chief exec, anybody at Bucks and Bucks, we're more than happy to help out and do what we can to support you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alistair. I echo absolutely everything that Alistair just said. So thank you very much, everyone. If there's nothing else, we'll leave it there and I'll speak to you all very soon.